Hello, Attaché. And I would really like to greet my many witchy friends here on YouTube, and I would like to discuss a subject that I have never seen discussed beforehand. And it is the dangers of the scriptures and the books written by Scott Cunningham. You know them, we all know them, we all love them. I love them too, I admit them. You know, his foremost, most popular one, Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs, and then Incense, Oil and Brews. I mean, if you look for a star incense, most likely you're going to find it is a ripped-off from this book, and of course, his ubiquitous, juicy, and one of his earliest works, Magical Herbalism. So, probably all of you witches are going to launch at me and say, Scott Cunningham is not dangerous. Scott Cunningham is a really cool guy. He's a really cool, sweet guy. And I would say that's true. But he made choices. Every book that you are reading, there was an author that sat down and made choices. And some of those choices, whether you're aware of them or not, are following you in your magical path. And so, you need to be aware of the problems, and the power of those choices, and be aware where they are coming from. Now, Scott Cunningham has written 21 books, and as I see it now, people are trying to scrounge out whatever leftovers writings that he did not complete, and there is a 22nd book that was written from his basically notes and Book of Shadows, and I would not be surprised if there will be like a 23rd book from his basically shopping lists and craft whatever ledgers or whatever, okay? Scott Cunningham is amazing, he is tantalizing, he is intoxicating, and he decided for you that some sides of the magical arts should be studied and some should not be studied. Now, in order to explain the problem that one has with Scott Cunningham, one has to explain where Scott Cunningham is coming from. Now, Scott Cunningham studied under Raven Grimassi, that I critiqued the book video just above his book, just above, and I really wanted to be a fly on the wall when Raven and Scott spoke about the subject of malevolent witchcraft. Okay, because today, in his 2014 book of Raven Grimassi, he tells you about consecrate your Hawthorne staff like this and like that. Your Blackthorn staff like this and like that. And you should use it if somebody is basically bothering you. And here, this is a nifty little rhyme 2-line hex to use on people that bothers you. Okay? And I would have liked to know, because Scott Cunningham was really, really, really against hexing. Now, if Scott Cunningham wasn't such an important figure in witchcraft, I would be, okay, so he's against, this is his prerogative, he can do whatever he wants, okay, and he can write in his books whatever he wants. But since he was such a canonic writer, this becomes to be a problem. Now, if you watch his video, Herbal Magic, he actually says, well, you saw all those bad witches in movies, you saw what happens to them. It's pretty much the same with natural magic. Yes, he actually says that. Go watch his movie. Now, he lived in a very good time. He lived in a heyday of growing new witchcraft and new streams of magic, okay? He was born in 1956 and died in 1993 from complications that came from HIV. And this moment on my altar, I burn incense for him, It's not such a long life, and he was such a profoundly good writer. Now, what did Scott Cunningham actually do? And right now, I'm holding here 3 reference books But his most important books were basically, his Wicca for the solitary practitioners and stuff like that, which I've read and despised. What he did was basically take the latter half of the 19th century Art Nouveau philosophy and movement and mix them up with magic. Sorry, my chair is giving me problems here, okay? This is what he did. And what is Art Nouveau philosophy? First of all, do you know Art Nouveau art? You're the artist of you is like, sure, I know them. Well, look at magical herbalism. This is a good example for Art Nouveau art. A perfect, timeless beauty sitting in a garden with unwilted flowers in imaginary colors, okay, and with all those calligraphic lines and stuff like that. And that was Art Nouveau, means the new art, basically. And it also contains the philosophy of uniting man with nature. You see, in the latter half of the 19th century, people actually believed that development and technology would bring man into unison with nature, that would bring upon us an utopia, a wonderful, magical, mystical land. And Scott Cunningham was enticed by this, and this is why he chose such art. And this is not just this book, this I am showing you magical herbalism, but open incense, oils and brews, okay? Look at the pictures in the beginning of every chapter. Those are the same Art Nouveau stuff, okay? For instance, this, okay? Again, perfect beauty, non-blemishes on people, calligraphic swirling lines, okay? Giving you a sensation of timelessness, absolute beauty, and also, some sort of perfection. Now, what happens when you take this philosophy and you mix it with witchcraft? Well, you take witchcraft and you turn it into somewhat of a utopian witchcraft. And it worked, and it sells books, okay? I myself am enchanted, every time I read his earth power, every time I read his air, earth, and fire magic, more techniques of natural ritual, or something like that. He's using language that is like perfect, like the chiming of two crystals. And yet, by ignoring the subject of the dark arts and by going so hard against it, he is blinding the reader, okay? And what do I mean when I say that? Well, let me give you an example. Let me give you a very good example. Let's say Miss Cannon, I just invented the name, Miss Cannon decided to cast a controlling spell over her neighbor, Miss Amanitha, okay? Miss Amanitha finds a bag, and she has the ability to recognize that this has little chunks of calamus root. Now, every hoodooist and everyone that has read hoodoo books is like, calamus root, yes, it's a controlling ingredient. Let's read what Scott Cunningham has to say about calamus, okay? In his Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. I'm skipping all the obvious. Powers, luck, healing, money, and protection. The seeds are strung as beads and used for healing, or the powdered root is used in healing incenses and sachets. Small pieces of the root kept in the corners of the kitchen to protect against hunger and poverty. Growing the plants brings good luck to the gardener, and the calamus is also used to strengthen and bind spells. Nothing about controlling spells. So Amanitha would think, Miss Cannon is just trying to protect me and bring me luck. Well, in an utopian world, that would be very nice. But in the world in which we live in, a world which has rapists and murderers and dark magic people that you wouldn't believe, Scott Cunningham doesn't prepare you to any of that. And that is dangerous, because you will go willy-nilly with his austere incense, and you will create this mind-boggling new age sensation that if you don't think evil thoughts, evil will not come to you. Please, this is dangerous, people. You have to wake up, okay? Even though his books are tantalizing and wonderful, again, I think I own 10 from his 21 book list, and I will purchase more as needed, okay? He cannot prepare you to deal with this world. Also, his Art Nouveau philosophy mixed with modern witchcraft also was very tantalizing in creating the self-initiatory rites, okay? A self-initiatory witch it could be like, this is a risk. This could be like a flip of the coin. This could be like the most amazing, well-taught men or women that self-taught themselves to go into the craft, and this could be like the fluffiest fluffy bunny that doesn't understand how the street works, and that could be extremely dangerous, okay? So for the worry of you all as a magical community, please be warned, okay? So you're asking me, okay, fair enough, but the Encyclopedia of Magical Herb is pretty useful. And I say, yes, don't discard this simply because this is an incomplete book. There are many incomplete books out there, but you need to know that this is an incomplete book, okay? And you need to have other books that helps you to do the differentiation, the difference between this and the more complete books, such as, if we are talking about herbs. And if you live in North America, this would be a very good book for you, because you can't really live in North America and ignore your local magical systems, okay? So, for instance, this book, Hoodoo, Herb and Root Magic by Catherine Ironwood, okay? Which again is a flawed book by its own right, but his flaws and these flaws, they mix each other and they create one very good book on herbalism, okay? So let's read Calamus Root here. Okay, here if Miss Amanitha would open it, you will see it. Calamus Roots control people, breaks jinx, and is lucky, okay? But the first thing it says, it controls people. And then it tells you controlling sprinkle, mojo, incense, and chew. Mix calamus and licorice with commanding powder, yada, 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 yada. So this is how, Miss Amanitha understands that Miss Cannon is trying to control her. Okay, this is here, but it's not here. Okay, so one needs to be very careful about choosing, which books he or she reads and learns from. Now, another, I will not go into detail into every creation that he ever did and tell you. You should be aware that there are entire chapters about hexing, controlling, and other malevolent spell walkings that you should be aware of, okay? But, for example, every rip-off recipe that I ever saw online gives credits or not give credits to Scott Cunningham, Incense, Oils and Brews, okay? There are other writers out there, like Denise Alvarado, with her Hoodoo Voodoo spellbook, okay? Like Talia Felix, like Lady Galadriel, like many people that are out there that has written their own magical recipes, and they are great, and they are more suited for today's situations. We do not live in 1993, okay? The year in which Scott Cunningham sadly died. Okay, we live now, and we live not in a modernist-friendly world. Okay, we live in a postmodern world in which we collect many things, many sorts of wisdoms, and we bind them anew, but we need to be conscious from where would one of us really take that sort of wisdom and how one incorporates it into one's craft. Okay? Because, we are not aware, but this whole thing of buying a herb online is really buying a herb online in an ounce packet or half an ounce packet that would be used to spellcraft is really part of this make Wicca, instant Wicca trend that started. And I think that, Scott Cunningham with his self-initiatory system, was probably, one of the most important people that I ever got there. Okay, that ever started this. And High John the Conqueror root is basically morning glory root. Go to a garden, take a shovel, grow your own, take your own. Okay, making flying devil oil. Take your seeds of scorpion peppers or the hottest peppers that you ever needed from a reliable farmer that loves his peppers, and try to grow them on your own. Grow them, love them, sing to them, give them your leftovers of coffee, give them the manure that they need, okay? And once they grow and become full and plump and red, dry them, and then grind them, and then make the flying devil oil for me. This will be 10 times more powerful than you going to the supermarket and buying grounded red pepper that you didn't have to go through your mortar and pestle and make your oil from. Okay? He does not want. Scott Cunningham was never about cultivating one's relationship with the earth. He was cultivating the relationship of one with the product of the earth, and that was part of what made his magic broken. And it was easier for him because look, he lived in San Diego, he has been in Hawaii so many times where nature is just so provident that he could have imagined this Hawaiian paradise as an actual option of one living. Okay, so even though he gives you recipes upon recipes upon recipes, just go out and pick, and even though his movie Herb Magic is actually, taken in a herb garden, okay, he himself did not grow and love these herbs the best that he could, and he did not imbue them with the earth magic that would make your fingers dirty, okay, and hence he was not a complete witch in that way. And so, sadly, his books are lacking. You, as self-initiated or part of a coven or any sort of herbalist of natural witches out there, you have to fix this. You have to know that valerian root will hex your enemies. You have to know that asafoetida will hex your enemies. You have to understand that funerary herbs will kill when needed be. And you have to know this, not just because if a witch can't heal, can't cure, but because we live in a violent world. And if one actually goes as far and read the Hopi tales or, tribal stories about who was the first witch, go to voodoo. Go to voodoo and ask the story of who was the first witch. Go to the Hopi tribe. The Hopi tribe will tell you that the first witch was Yellow Corn Maiden, to which I'm dedicating this movie, this thing, Yellow Corn Maiden. What made her a witch was the fact that Papa Coyote first taught her how to kill. Okay? Witchcraft is not necessarily a nice, sweet thing, and one should take precautions to understand that this immense power placed in one's hands could give life and it could kill. And if you don't take responsibility to learn all the subjects of the craft, you will make mistakes, and those mistakes will haunt you forever. And so Scott Cunningham is not conducive in learning how to avoid those mistakes, even though I love him very much. Thank you for listening. goodbye. And a share.